Imagine that a secret kept for almost 2 centuries is finally about to be revealed. What if I told you that La Salette's prophecy, a terrifying and fascinating message, points directly to the events we are living through? Yes, the signs are there right before our eyes, but few are prepared to see them. From natural disasters to deep divisions in society, prophecy not only predicted these crises, but warned us of something even greater. And it could happen as early as 2025. If you've ever felt like the world is changing too fast, that something seems out of place, you're not alone. La Salette is not just another forgotten prophecy. It is a cry of warning to humanity, a chance to prepare ourselves for what is to come. But be careful, the answers are not in the news, nor in everyday conversations. They are hidden in history and in details that few dare to explore. And anyone who decides to ignore this message could be on the verge of a big mistake. But don't worry, you don't have to face all of this alone. Here, we will unveil every detail, every symbol, and every warning of this prophecy. The journey you are about to begin goes far beyond simple curiosity. It may be the key to understanding the events to come, and more importantly, protecting you and yours. Are you ready to find out what La Salette's prophecy really means? Before we move forward, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share this video. Every day we bring new content about prophecies and the prophetic events that are unfolding around us. In 1846, 2 young French pastors, Melanie and Maximin, received a message in La Salette that resonates to this day. This prophecy, more than mystical words, sounded like an urgent call about the spiritual degradation of humanity. Imagine a world where greed obscures values and corruption corrodes everything from institutions to hearts. It is unsettling to think that problems such as financial fraud or leaders who abuse power were already foreseen, connecting human frailty to imminent catastrophe. And have you ever stopped to reflect on the small deviations that contribute to something much bigger? The warning did not just stop at the moral issue. The prophecy also spoke of natural disasters, as if the earth itself was reacting to the rot that inhabits it. From unexpected floods to devastating hurricanes, everything seemed a physical reflection of spiritual disorder. Think about the frequency of these events today. Is it coincidence, or are we ignoring a cosmic warning? While we face pandemics or intense fires, it is not difficult to connect the dots between the past and the present. Who knows what else is to come if the message remains forgotten? To make this even more personal, reflect on how society responds to crises. Instead of unity, we see deeper and deeper divisions. But was this message just for leaders and governments? Or was it also for the ordinary person, like you and me, who often underestimate our impact? A simple practice, such as dedicating time to reflection or community actions, could change the course of this story. However, the biggest challenge is to discern: are we listening to the signs, or are we just letting them go unnoticed? When looking at the present day, it is impossible to ignore how religious institutions seem increasingly fragmented. La Salette's prophecy pointed to a divided church, something we can clearly see in the modern world. Leaders and congregations conflict over ethical, political, and spiritual issues. It is not difficult to imagine the impact of this. How can one follow a path of faith if even the guides seem lost? Who knows, instead of waiting for ready-made answers, the solution is to rescue what is purest in the human spirit: the personal search for truth and unity. Furthermore, the prophecy mentioned a rebellious nature, almost as a response to human negligence. What do we see today? Deforestation, global warming, and oceans covered in plastic. It seems no coincidence that these predictions sound so current. La Salette's message was clear. Our relationship with the environment reflects our relationship with the divine. Have you ever thought about the impact of small choices? From avoiding waste to supporting sustainable causes, every action can be a step towards balance. Moral decadence, another central point of the prophecy, is more present than ever. Values such as empathy and honesty seem scarce in a world obsessed with appearances and quick wins. But the solution isn't just about pointing out other people's mistakes. It starts within each person. What would it be like if you decided to act with more integrity in your daily decisions? Perhaps this is exactly the call that the prophecy brings to modern times, an invitation to reflect and act consciously, while the global scenario still allows for change. The vision of the 3 days of darkness is one of the most impactful in all of prophecy. Imagine a world immersed in darkness, where not even the sun dares to shine, while natural catastrophes unfold in sequence. This scenario, described as an act of divine judgment, is as frightening as it is transformative. For many, it may seem distant, almost like a fictional plot. But what if these calamities represented a metaphor for the times when humanity is utterly lost? Who has never felt immersed in chaos so deep that there seemed to be no light at the end of the tunnel? These days of darkness also bring a promise of renewal, however brief. After the chaos, moments of respite emerge, as if the world was breathing again before facing new battles. It reminds us of cycles we see in our own lives, difficult times followed by brief intervals of peace. Just as the earth seeks to renew itself, we too can find small windows of hope to begin again. It's in these moments that real change happens. Are we ready to seize them? But the prophecy does not end there. It warns us about what comes next. These lulls are just preparations for greater challenges. If we think about it, the deepest lessons always come in the midst of adversity. The question is, how do we prepare to face times like this? Perhaps the answer lies in what we have neglected for too long: spiritual connection, harmony with nature, and intentional actions. The time to act is now, before the next storm takes us by surprise. Salette's prophecy warned of the rise of a dark leader, identified as the Antichrist. He would be a master manipulator, capable of deceiving even the wisest, with empty promises and a false sense of security. Have you ever imagined a world in which the truth was so distorted that even the most faithful wavered? History shows us leaders who led the masses into error, and perhaps this warning is more current than it seems. How to distinguish the righteous from the deceiver in an era where lies camouflage themselves as truths. With the arrival of the Antichrist, the collapse of religious institutions would be inevitable. Churches, once considered refuge, would be shaken to their foundations. The persecution of the faithful would intensify, forcing many to practice their faith in secret, almost as in ancient times. But this wouldn't just be a test of endurance. It would be an opportunity to rediscover the essence of faith. How would you react if you were challenged to protect what you believe in against all odds? However, the prophecy is not just about destruction. It speaks of a divine victory. At the height of the chaos, a light would emerge, symbolizing the final defeat of the Antichrist and the restoration of heavenly order. It reminds us that even in the darkest of times, hope can never be abandoned. But the question remains, will we be ready to recognize and resist deception when it appears? The call to be vigilant has never been more urgent than now. The 3 days of darkness are described as one of the most terrifying moments in prophetic history, where the world would be covered in dense darkness and evil forces would roam freely. Imagine a scenario where not even artificial light can break through the oppressive darkness, while screams and wails echo in the streets. According to prophecy, Only the light of blessed candles could illumine these days. Who is prepared for such a frightening event? More importantly, how can we prepare ourselves spiritually to face what is unseen, but felt in the depths of the soul? During this period, chaos would reign. Doors and windows would need to remain closed, and going outside would invite destruction. It is not just a test of physical endurance, but also of faith. Just as the ancient Israelites trusted God during Passover in Egypt, those who remain steadfast in their spirituality would have divine protection. Are we ready to depend completely on something other than our own strength? This is a lesson that transcends prophetic events and applies to the storms we face in everyday life. Finally, the prophecy speaks of a renewed world, as if the earth had undergone purification. The darkness would be replaced by a renewing light, and those who survived would bear the burden of rebuilding a new beginning. It's a powerful reminder that even in the darkest moments, there is the promise of rebirth. The question that arises, then, is, how are you preparing yourself today to face tomorrow's challenges and emerge stronger? The prophecy leaves us with this reflection: while the world continues to follow uncertain paths, now that you've delved into the mysteries of La Salette's prophecy, the most important question is, what will you do with this knowledge? The messages are clear. The signs are everywhere. But the choice is yours. Will you ignore the warning, or prepare for what's to come? This is a rare opportunity to reflect on your actions, strengthen your faith, and find ways to protect those you love in uncertain times. Ask yourself, am I really paying attention to the signs around me? Have I prepared myself spiritually and emotionally to face the unknown? These are not easy questions, but they are necessary for anyone who wants to be more than a spectator of history. And remember, the first step always starts with a simple decision: seek more knowledge and remain vigilant. If you feel like this content opened your eyes, don't stop here. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and join our community that seeks to unravel the mysteries of prophecies and find paths to the future. This journey is just beginning, and you don't want to miss out on what comes next. After all, those who don't look for answers may end up getting lost in the questions.